parochial fervour of last Saturday has been replaced by feelings of patriotism as England's European hopefuls come out side by side with Argentina's world champions. Really fine evening for the match, just a nice cool breeze and a capacity crowd. One or two interesting banners in the crowd, and I saw one on the way up which said, "We have come to bury Caesar's men, not to praise them." A reference this time to Cesar Luis Menotti, the manager of Argentina. But whatever happens, the crowd are likely to admire and maybe marvel at the precocious skills of 19-year-old Diego Maradona, whose arrival on the scene is being compared with that of Pelé 22 years ago. He's the South American Footballer of the Year, and as, of course, we have the European Footballer of the Year, Kevin Keegan, on the field, it could be argued that this match offers the watching public the two best players in the world. So let's check on the England lineup, which shows three changes from the team which did so well in Spain. Two of them forced on Ron Greenwood because of injuries. And this is our last match against foreign opposition before the European Championships. And a note to make that it's Dave Watson's 50th appearance for his country. Argentina present 6 of their World Cup winning 11 and 1 Valencia, who played in the first 4 matches of the tournament. There are also 2 members of the side which won the World Youth Cup in September. Maradona, of course, is one, and the other is at number 8, Juan Barbas. Kevin Keegan on the left, and the other skipper became pretty familiar to us during the 1978 tournament, Daniel Passarella. And the referee for this friendly international is Brian McGinley of Scotland. They are the substitutes, and they're not sticking tonight to the rules of only 2 may be used. The Argentines wanted to use 3, and England have agreed. England tonight unveiling their new strip. Though quite why the England shirt should have the colours of the Union Jack remains a mystery. David Johnson and Tony Woodcock set to get things underway. It seems likely that Gary Birtles will get his chance later in the game. And here's Keegan. Really is a fine evening for football. And England's record so far this season, this is their 6th international. They have won all the previous 5 and conceded only 1 goal. Maradona, and the free kick given against Ray Wilkins. Ray Wilkins, who hasn't played, in fact, for 3.5 weeks. His last game for Manchester United was at Norwich on April the 19th. Passarella, of course, one of the 6 World Cup players. Here's another one, Holguin. It's Barbas. This is one of the newcomers, Ventune. Holguin. Maradona. So far been exclusively on the right side alongside Barbas. Santa Maria, number 7. Barbas asking a bit much of Holguin. Silly challenge by Ventune on Keegan. It's just a throw, but Kenny Sansom capable of a long one. Watson has come up on the near post. And here is Watson. Keegan! Well, he had to dig it out, rather. But it was enough to worry for Yol. Came from the set piece, from the throw, Watson making his presence felt, although in fact he didn't make the header. Came down to Keegan and knocked it down well with his chest, but just wide of the keeper. And Keegan, meantime, has to pick himself up off the deck. As we were looking at that, he was brought down by Gallego. Watson still up in the area. Woodcock near the penalty spot. Kennedy up as well. Watson at the back. And Fiol doing very well. And I think the last outfield player to touch it was Gallego. Well, we can see as we look at it again. It came in fact off Woodcock, and it was a fine save. Keegan. And another free kick. And quite a lot of whistle in the opening. I'm afraid there has been a fair amount of whistle in matches between these two sides over the years. Of course, here in the 1966 World Cup was the greatest punch-up of all, which saw Ratin sent off. Players capable of giving us a match to remember tonight. Johnson not looking happy in defence, the Argentines. Kennedy, as England keep the pressure on. Woodcock stayed onside. Fiol to meet him. Woodcock not making the best of the opportunity, but then he stopped as every other player did. They thought that he'd come from an offside position, but the linesman kept his flag down. But what good goalkeeping to narrow the angle by Fiol. Wilkins is a bit square, forced the stop from Kennedy. Taken by Wilkins, wants somebody right side. Neil offering himself. Keegan on the run. Passarella covering. And the corner given. David Watson making his way to the far side of the 6-yard box from the kicker's viewpoint. Johnson on the near post, or moving a bit away from it. There's Watson! And again spooned away by the goalkeeper. Looked very spectacular. I suspect a number of England goalkeepers would have held that. Good back flick, Watson down and punched away. Again, it was Watson who got the header, but rolling out harmlessly, somewhat off the top of his head for the goal kick. Minotti so far without cigarette, as he's just got one there poised to light up. Neil. Solid from Passarella, and the referee saw no foul in it. Woodcock has stayed down, and here is Valencia. Clements to meet him. Oh, and he hit the post finally. Kenny Sanson, who got back to clear off the line. And I think justice was done, because that did look a very harsh tackle at the other end on Woodcock. Good stuff from Clements, who came out. The first block was from Sanson, and then Valencia hit the post. The referee, in the meantime, has talked to Wilkins and booked him. I can only assume that Ray Wilkins made some observation about that tackle on Woodcock. Woodcock. Offside given against Johnson. And that one must have been tight. Holguin winning his 38th cap tonight. Maradona, it was so easy it was untrue. Barbas. Oh. Maradona again. And he's taking the ball on! And it's gone wide, but what a marvellous example of this man's ability. Picked up pace apparently from nowhere. Look at this, turn, looking at the gap between two, away from the lunge of the third, and a flick wide of the goalkeeper and wide of the post. I think it may just have touched the post. Two forward for England, with Keegan playing more and more in midfield and coming deeper and deeper for the ball. Here's Woodcock, leaving Johnson on his own up front. Valencia had to hold because Luque was offside. And Keegan obstructed by Passarella, for which the Argentine captain is booked. Chance of a break as Keegan saw it, and he was just flattened by Passarella. Deliberate charge, in fact. Neil. And Santa Maria, again finding some space, taking on Sansom. Has he got someone to pull it back to? Tried to find Valencia, didn't make it. And Keegan gives it away to Luque. And England, on about 3 occasions in this half, have been notably bereft of cover at the back. Here's Wilkins. And offside again against Johnson. It has to be said that the partnership of Johnson and Woodcock at the moment isn't working. It's not easy for two players from different clubs to strike a relationship immediately. Which is one of the reasons why Woodcock may later be joined by Gary Birtles, who of course were together at Nottingham Forest before Woodcock left. Here's Maradona. Keegan. Wilkins. And there's midfield busy without actually being too creative. Double-footed tackle by Holguin. Jumped in. Watson is up. Kennedy. Right foot shot that lacked any power. Tarantini to Valencia. Passarella. Like the player who's passed the ball to Holguin, played in every one of the matches in the World Cup finals. Argentine's playing Barbas pretty wide to the right. Santa Maria, Luque coming on the near post. Holguin. Kennedy. Keegan. Neil to his right, 2 forward. Passarella getting round Johnson. And Maradona making the ball his. Here's Wilkins. Kennedy. Wilkins. Not too much width for England. And the referee trying to help with the advantage. Here's Valencia. Covered by Watson. Wilkins. Koppel. He was trying to find Wilkins, who'd made the diagonal run. Keegan. Sanson's made the run and the shout out on the left. Sanson. Wilkins. Woodcock on the touchline ahead of Sanson. And Sanson being tempted to come forward, which is nice to see. Kennedy and Koppel, two of the England players in the box, waiting for the long throw. A total of 5 there. Watson for the back header. Keegan. Sanson, faced by 2. It's another throw. Half an hour gone, still no score. Watson with more room this time, and he made it count. Good save by Fiol. But the referee has spotted some infringement, and I think it was a foul on the goalkeeper. And the goalkeeper did well, and challenged with Johnson. A bit more room here for Watson, came more off his man, and got up for the back flick, and Johnson, adjudged to have jumped at the keeper. Maradona, 3 players round him, and the foul given against Thompson. I suspect that Maradona won that one. Here is Luque, the kick taken early, and England not concentrating. And there's a timely foot by Thompson, and the referee has seen that as a corner. Sanson propping up the near post. And Maradona to take this dead ball. How much would he put a swerve on it? Oh, it's just very... Well, it looks so easy to the near post, but it brushed off Kennedy. Woodcock. Keegan. The early one is on for Koppel. Keegan's finds him a little later. Away by Alguin. Wilkins. Keegan, chance for the shot. Even the player of the quality of Kevin Keegan is entitled to have a disappointing evening, and with 40 minutes of this match gone, that is a summary of his match so far. Keegan again. The thing about him is that when things aren't going right for him, he never hides himself, always looking for the ball. Watson coming in again. Goal kick. Van Tieren going to take the kick. Thompson. Koppel. 4 players left of him. And Koppel's got a fine cross and a brilliant goal! Scored by David Johnson. I think that's the first time an England player has actually got to the dead ball line. What a superb cross. Koppel finding Johnson, who in turn beat Fiol. Now look at this, he's got 2 players to take on here. Look at the angle of the cross, only just the room to get it, and in comes Johnson. to head past Field. Took them onto the byline, there wasn't much room, he got a really good cross, and Johnson came slightly behind two defenders. Well, England have had their problems, but now they have the breakthrough, and a very well-made goal too. Woodcock to Johnson. Oh, I say. What a difference a goal makes. A real thump when it was played to him. And the crowd bursting into full chorus. Tune's header at the back. Suddenly the atmosphere has changed, and so has the balance of play. Interesting ball from Wilkins. Holguin clears to Barbas. Wilkins to Neil. Woodcock. And here's Maradona away from Keegan. Forward for Santa Maria. Thompson for England. And confidence is now coursing through the veins of the England players. Keegan was calling for it. Went to Sanson instead. Thompson. And the cry is, we're going to Italy. And for England, this is a match which measures their improvement. And David Johnson waves to the crowd as he comes off a player who scored 27 goals for Liverpool this season. Has scored the one for England, which leads the world champions Argentina at half-time. Comes off all smiles, having had so many offside decisions given against him. He took his chance really well. Made for him by a really brilliant cross by Steve Coppell. But England, after having a struggle from the 10th minute, really created a very fine goal and emphasised once again the importance of getting to the byline. It was Coppell who did it, got away from Tarantini. It was a superb cross, and in came Johnson to score the goal, which changes the atmosphere in the England dressing room at half-time. And here's Maradona to Tarantini. He must have felt that he'd closed down the gap for Coppell, but he hadn't. Gallego, Luque, straight to Woodcock, who turned nicely on it. Tarantini coming back on the left. A little bit of bumping and boring with Phil Neal. Here's Wilkins. Johnson again. Passarella got his head to it, and then Van Toon. Watson. Crisp start by England, and Kennedy is offside. And the ooh from the crowd is because his half-hearted shot bounced off the crossbar. Passarella. Barbas, who's not looked, I must say, anything of the quality of Ozzy Ardiles, whose right side midfield role he's taken. Could be that Ardiles will be back before the World Cup. Good running by Koppel. And he's picked out Johnson, who's offside. Flank was well up on the far side. But Koppel with so much to offer when he runs at people. There's another good cross, but Johnson had come too early. Valencia. Luque in the middle, so is Maradona. Clements is taking that comfortably. Really hasn't had very much to do. Keegan, pass cut out by Olguin. Maradona. Oh dear, oh dear. That really was a question of Watson's timing. Totally beaten by the skill of Maradona. He was hours late. Just look at the challenge. He'd taken it away from him and he was going through, and he'd gone with the right leg and caught him with the left. It wasn't a confrontation between Luque and Watson, it was a conversation in whatever language, in good spirit. Barbas. Olguin's shot wasn't a very good one. Johnson chasing Passarella. Passarella had to stretch at the end. Olguin. Santa Maria. Barbas. Maradona. Three around him. Finds Santa Maria. Good check out. And Neil let it go! And escaped. Neil obviously unaware that Valencia was behind him. Maradona with three round him, set up Santa Maria. There's a good check round Kenny Sampson. And Neil obviously unaware of the presence of Valencia, but he got back just to smother him. Number 5 for Argentina starting this, with 5 minutes of the second half gone. It's Passarella. Maradona looking for a foul that was never there. Johnson getting one from Luque. Among the managers watching this match, Lorenzo Berzot of Italy and Guy Thys of Belgium. Here's Woodcock. Challenged by Gallego. Kennedy. And the goalkeeper got a hand to it, but Johnson had the easiest of tasks to get his second goal. 2 go to congratulate him. 3 went to congratulate the man who crossed. Delight obviously on the bench. Just look at the quality of this cross here from Kennedy. It really teased the goalkeeper, who got a hand and made it a present really for David Johnson for his second goal of the match. Just look at that, it fell nicely after the goalkeeper touched it. Second time in consecutive matches here that a goalkeeper getting a hand to the ball has in fact acted to the benefit of the attackers. Same was true on Saturday with Pat Jennings to the Alan Devonshire's cross. As England are playing a team who have given up their experimenting. This is really the start of Menotti's drive towards the World Cup of '82. Here's Woodcock against Van Thun. England's last 3 matches, in fact, have been won by a 2-0 scoreline. against Bulgaria, the Republic of Ireland, and then against Spain in Barcelona. Woodcock was held. Referee right on the spot. And possible substitution here. Looked like Calderon at a quick look. Kennedy. Keegan. Sanson covering with Santa Maria. Maradona, away from two, and that is a penalty. Brought down by Sanson. And Sanson turns away with an air of lack of understanding, but he took on three, and Sanson caught his foot. There can be no question about that. Passarella, who in the World Cup really bombed his penalties, is the man who's going to take it. England have only conceded one goal this season. Ray Clements will deny Passarella a second. Oh, but there was no way. For the moment that it was struck, the goalkeeper was static. So Passarella brings the world champions back into contention. Just look at it, it curled away to the goalkeeper's left. Beaten to the wide, Ray Clements. Meantime, Argentina have made their substitution. It is indeed Calderon who's come on. Substitute, in fact, is Ischia. Here's Thompson. Koppel. Taking on Gallego. The Argentine substitute is Carlos Ischia, who's come on in place of Juan Barras. It's Ischia, who's making his international debut. Plays for Vélez Sarsfield. It's useful. Santa Maria. Change the angle. And Luque's shot. Somewhat off balance. It's a bit off balance, and it was wildly off the outside of his boot. And Argentina prepared to make another substitute. Menotti deep in conversation. I would suspect that the substitute would be a forward. That certainly looked like Diaz. Woodcock. Johnson. Well claimed. Kennedy is pushed further forward in this second period. Santa Maria. Laid it across, and Valencia couldn't take. given Wilkins' way. And it is Ramon Diaz who's coming on, and Santiago Santamaria who's coming off. Diaz, another member of the World Youth Cup side, 20 years old, winning his third cap. Woodcock and Passalella. Keegan, handball. Gallego complaining, but I think it was clearly seen to be handball. First Watson checking. It was away by Olguin. Kennedy. Nicely laid, go on, he said, and he got it. Yes, he came back, lovely sway of the hips by Kenny Sanson. Good climb again. Watson came off Gallego. Passarella's header, then Olguin's. And a good piece of play by young Kenny Sanson. Actually left-sided in a left winger's position. Ischia. Coming back to Ray Clements. And in fact it comes square instead. Sansom. Gallego. Maradona. And he wouldn't be brushed off the ball. Watson obviously felt that Maradona did more than his fair share of pushing. Passarella prepared to find one of those forward. Diaz. Johnson. Keegan. Woodcock. Kennedy. Wilkins. Johnson, couple running inside him. Watson. Tarantini. Valencia. Stays in for Tarantini. No, it doesn't. One by Maradona, who gets away from two, faced by Thompson. And Valencia's shot, no problem for Ray Clements. Statistics on the scoreboard. Sansom at the throw. all the way, he asked, and Johnson does go all the way. Tarantini with a bit of space. Maradona. Valencia. And the dive by Valencia. Referee's verdict applauded. Wilkins. Sanson on the run again. Ventu. We're halfway through the second half. And the match nicely poised. Last time Argentina came here, before the '74 World Cup, they got a 2-2 draw. Here's Keegan, who now has Johnson to his left. Koppel, Keegan! Oh, what a strike! Marvellous play. No wonder they stand up on the bench, on the England side, that is. That's a measure of the little man, but again, credit to Koppel, who killed it, absolutely set it up for him, and Keegan said, that's mine. Bang! Super goal. Johnson starting the move. There's Koppel who stretched for it, killed it, set it for Keegan, who scores his 19th goal for England. And here he is back in defence. And the crowd rising to him. The first half was difficult for him, but he really has shown his true colours in the second. And here's Johnson! Saved by the keeper. He's got his angles all right again. Back again to Johnson. He was at least obstructed, and the referee says he dived. I must say, I've got to argue with the Scottish official about that. Good save that was by Viol from Johnson, who was in the clear. And Trevor Brooking about to come on for England. Obviously, for the balance of the side, it'll be Ray Kennedy, and he'll replace. So the Liverpool man, one of 6 Liverpool players in the squad, goes off. To be replaced by Saturday's hero, Trevor Brooking. 15 minutes left. I think the crowd would be happy if it was another hour or so. Such has been the entertainment, particularly in the second half. Maradona moving out to the right. And here's Keegan, who was overshadowed by the youngster in the first half, but by no means in the second. Brooking. Johnson, Koppel coming square. Offside against Brooking. O'Neill has gone to the bench. Holguin just caught sight of Bertels as we were looking at Neil. Valencia, back from Maradona. It's asked too much, surely. England taking advantage of being able to use the third substitute. Cherry there on the right, but as we look at Cherry, an experienced campaigner, the other substitute who's come on is Gary Birtles, who becomes the 13th player to be capped under Ron Greenwood's reign and the 35th player to be used by the England manager. It's just possible I didn't tell you, although I'm sure you will have gathered that the other England player went off was David Johnson. Diaz. That's for Maradona. Oh, what a good save. Valencia, blocked by Cherry. And the corner save. A vicious swerving shot that Clements managed to parry. Tune. Passarella. Maradona. Early for Diaz. And the goalkeeper committed. Sanson back to cover and succeeds in doing so. And is thanked by his goalkeeper, who obviously did the right thing to come out. Beautiful ball played through from Maradona to Diaz. And look at Sanson covering the angle right on the near post. Showed a lot of pace then. It's a corner. Kenny Sampson's fourth cap suggests a growing presence in the England team. Birtles couldn't quite get it away. Passarella got his head. Keegan. Ischia. There's Cherry. Birtles. Took it nicely on the chest. Well, that's his last action and the last action of the match. England came into this match to measure their newfound form under Ron Greenwood against the champions of the world. And they've come out of it with a 3-1 victory and with great credit. Kevin Keegan getting the third goal, which makes him incidentally the 8th highest England scorer since the war. And the victory made all the more meritorious for the fact that they had to overcome their problems in the first half. Copper provided the breakthrough with Johnson's header, and in the second half England gave a really fine performance to end emphatic winners. Stevie Coppell had another really good game for England. Trevor Brooking has settled in immediately. And Kevin Keegan coming off with an Argentine shirt. So indeed it's Phil Thompson. And Ron Greenwood once again coming off with the cheers of the supporters of the England team ringing in his ears. He's now chalked up a quarter of a century, matches in charge of England, and that was his 18th victory. Scoreboard saying it all in England's last game against foreign opposition before the European Championships. Ron, I suggested the victory was all the better for the fact that England overcame certain problems for about 20 minutes or so in the first half.
Well, the only problems we had in the first half that we didn't score the goals that we should have done in the first 10 minutes. But as you say, it was that type of game. They went to the other end and they could have scored 2 goals. The score could have been 3-2 at half-time or 2 each, you know. But that's what we set out to do, wasn't it? That was the advert that we came here to play football. But to me, I thought it was a magnificent performance from the lads' point of view, in as much that, you know, we all worked together as a team. We decided in Barcelona to go up together and come back together. And if you could have only seen the picture, which I'm sure you did on television, whereby they were breaking against us, and we had 7 people working to get behind the ball. That's the art of football. When you're defending, get everybody behind the ball. When you're attacking, get everybody going forward as well. And some of the goal line saves, like Kenny Sampson and Tereva Cherry at the end when he came on as a substitute, that to me is brilliant football thinking. That's to do with one's football mind. You put yourself where you think there's going to be danger, and I thought Kenny had a magnificent game, Steve Coppell, they all had a magnificent game, which I'm sure you will agree with.
It's a result that will reverberate a bit around Europe.
I'm not worried about Europe, I'm just worried about us, you know. I mean, the mere fact that now we have to play 3 games against the home countries, which basically, that's no problem because we want to play the games, but of course some of the lads are not available, so it gives us an opportunity. It was nice to see Gary come on tonight. Trevor came on. That was no disrespect to Ray Kennedy and David Johnson that we pulled them off. It was just a question of emergency. We'd agreed with Mr. Minotti to have 3 substitutes and a goalkeeper, so why not make use of it, you know?
Your 25th game, where does it stand with the previous 24?
Well, I'm not worried about that. I just felt tonight we had to play some brilliant players. I mean, the little man, with all due respect, I've never seen him play before. He is a bit special, and I think everybody who watched him tonight would agree he's a bit special. There are certain problematical things about him in relation to he falls over easily, but never mind. I respect him, and I look forward to seeing him being a great force in world football in the future.
Kevin, how did you see that?
It's a privilege to play in a game of football like that. I think that's my 51st game for England. I think the most enjoyable to play, not just because we won, but because of the way the game was played, because it was a game that had a lot of things, and mainly because the England side showed that we've got qualities that the Latins can't match, and I think that's pleasing to take with us to Italy.
Would you concede that you had to overcome a few problems, spending between the 10th minute and about the 40th minute?
Yeah, very little problem in the name of Maradona, I think, but we did have a 20-25 minute spell in the middle of the first half where we lost our game a little bit, and I think, you know, if we let that happen in Italy, we might pay the penalty more than we did tonight. Having said that, the pleasing thing, I think, and the boss said it after the game, is we were able to work it out for ourselves. The last 5 minutes of the first half and the whole of the second half, we found this game a little bit, started knocking it about, and we were playing as well in the second half, and probably better than the Argentinians played in that spell. So, you know, I mean, it's easy to be a good side when it's going well, but when you pick yourself up after having a bad start like we had, and then start to find your form, I think that's a quality in the team.
During that spell, it seemed to us that Phil Thompson was playing slightly deeper than he's ever played for England.
Yeah, we had a little chat. The boss said to him, look, you know, against these sort of players who play a lot of 1-2s and that, if you get very square at the back, of course, they laugh at you, because that's the ideal. That's why they play 1-2s. And Phil has got the ability to do what Beckenbauer used to for Germany. He just dropped off 2 or 3 yards, and he reads the game very well. And I think in that 25 minutes, it was more due to Phil than anyone that we stayed in it. He came and cut some great balls out, which were more than dangerous.
And the second half, super. And I think you also had to overcome your own problems a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, well, you know, when you get to 29, you know, this big pitch, it takes you about 35 minutes to get your first wind. Yeah, you know, football never runs smooth all the time. If it did, I suppose it'd be pretty boring. First 25, 30 minutes, I think the whole midfield lost its sort of rhythm. And, of course, I lost mine as well. And as I said before, you've got to battle through it, find your game. And the pleasing thing is that, you know, we did do this. And that, as I said, is a quality.
Well, I hope you'll forgive a little grumble from me on such a night, but I felt that it was such a good game that it deserved better presentation. For the second time in a few days, we've seen not enough contrast between the team's colours, making it very difficult to follow. That must be very awkward for you if you're watching it in black and white, but more than that, serious enough for viewers. But what about when players appear to be confused? Well, I'm convinced that there was a time, a second time indeed this was, in the first half, when Kevin Keegan was confused by the lack of, or the similarity of the colours in making this pass. He's got his head up, he sees it very clearly, and the floodlights, bear in mind, didn't come on until 36 minutes after the start tonight, and he's passed straight to an Argentine player. Well, that was the second time. Just a small grumble, but I think it's something we should look at in the future. Now back to the game and picking out a man of the match. My man of the match was Steve Coppell. I've said before that maybe he hasn't gone to the byline as much as he used to when he started playing for England and Manchester United. Laurie Cunningham's a bit the same, I'm afraid, when he plays for England, and tonight I thought it was going to be the same again. We were looking for the first goal. Here he is in possession, two players against him, and he tries the sort of old-fashioned hopeful cross that we've seen so often over the past 10 years at Wembley. But he puts that right just 2 minutes later when the similar position arose, and doesn't he take these two players on and screw back that ball from an impossible angle there for David Johnson to head home. That was a beautiful run and a wonderful skill. Right, so much for that, but the second goal came exactly the same way. Kennedy's the one this time, and I want you to watch from this lovely camera angle the way he really screws that ball up. Look at that foot, really working hard to get that. Now, that's not international goalkeeping. Fiol there should have put that ball over the bar, but Johnson takes advantage of that. But Coppell, for me, was the England's player for his unselfishness. Johnson's the one on the ball now, and I love the way he sets up this third goal for Keegan. I reckon he touched that ball off for himself, heard the shout from Keegan, and then unselfishly stepped out of the way to let Keegan crash that ball into the net. Well, Coppell's unselfishness really made him the player of the match. I mean, I know Diego Maradona was absolutely beautiful to watch, but he'll have his day. But let's have an England player in the limelight tonight. But more than that, it was a team performance, and Ron Greenwood has mentioned it, and he really does deserve credit for producing the pride that he's produced in the players that wear the England shirt. It was a team performance. They run for each other, they chase for each other, they don't mind who gets the credit or who scores the goals. So, well done, Ron Greenwood, that's quite a performance. Well, all that I need to do now is to remind you that tomorrow night at 7 o'clock you can see live coverage of the European Cup Winners' Cup final between Arsenal and Valencia. Now, good news for Arsenal fans, it's thought tonight that David O'Leary is almost certain to be fit. Well, that's Arsenal fans and us, because we shall all be rooting for Arsenal tomorrow night. So, that's a date that you shouldn't miss, 7 o'clock, BBC One. Right, how are we going to end tonight? Well, we're going to show you the 3 goals that England scored to beat Argentina again. You could complain you've seen them already and don't want to see them again, but it's not often that England beat the world champions. Good night.
And Coppell's got a fine cross and a brilliant goal! Scored by David Johnson. Here's Woodcock. Challenged by Gallego. Kennedy. And the goalkeeper got a hand to it. Coppell, Keegan!